What is wisdom? If you are going to put that down in a statement.
I believe that wisdom is the ability to deconstruct your own personal struggles and to understand them, to start learning how to ask the right questions rather than to have the right answers. Most young people, most old people for that matter, are constantly focused on answers. You think about, I need to have the right answers to all of these challenges I'm facing in my life. I need to figure them out. But every great journey actually begins with asking the right questions, with really falling in love with the questions, spending enough time with them that you eventually may figure out a path to the answer. And so many young people, when they go into new relationships, are looking for answers. I'm coming to you as a mentor and saying, oh, I want you to give me all the answers that are going to allow me to have this amazing, thriving career. Well, guess what? That doesn't exist. I can't give you any answers. Your life looks very different than mine. Your circumstances, everything, your path is different than mine. But I can give you questions you should ask. I can give you frameworks for how to think about the different problems that exist. So to me, wisdom is the ability to look at your situation, to experience those daily struggles, to wrestle with them, and to start asking the right questions about how to navigate that. And so when I write a lot, and people constantly respond or say things to me of like, oh, that's such incredible wisdom. I don't consider myself wise. I'm 32 years old. I think it's almost ridiculous for me to say that I'm some wise, that I have all this amazing experience. I don't have nearly as much experience as some of these great business people that are out there. What I do is I think constantly about my life and about things around me. I read constantly. I consume things constantly. I talk to people constantly. And that allows me to have this incredibly large and diverse picture of what my life, what my experience, what my world, what my struggles look like. And when you think about those, when you wrestle with them and spend time with them, incredible things come out of that. And there are so many people out there who are struggling with these same things as me. So I know that if I can share my own struggle in a way that makes sense, start asking the questions and give people ways to think about them, I know there will be people out there that will benefit from that.
If I had to put a term to what you share, is actionable insights, right? Because whenever I read anything you're going to put out there, I know this is something which most people can use in their lives. Most people will kind of relate to. Do you have a process of distilling it down from stuff you're consuming to how it kind of comes out?
Yes. So the way I think about it is basically that every idea that you share is sort of downstream from something you consume. I think I heard, maybe it was James Clear phrase it that way. It's a brilliant way of thinking of it. I consume constantly. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly talking to interesting people. I'm listening to things. And I need a way to gather all of that in a place. So every time that triggers an interesting idea, I need to be able to capture that. So personally, I use Notion because I think it's just a good basic place to create a repository. And then what I do is I spend time with those concepts, call it idea exercise, where you can't just assume that something you consume is all of a sudden going to spark some amazing insight. You have to spend time with it. You have to wrestle with it. You have to think. And in the modern world, that's very, very hard to do.
Yeah, to think.
Everything becomes transactional in the world we live in. We jump from one task to the next. We're doing this, then we're in a meeting, then we're calling someone, then we're at home. Then you're never bored. And when you're bored, when you're just in your own head, those are the only times that these insights, these ideas, they mingle. That's when they're walking around and connecting with one another. So you have to find a way, and I have figured out a structure to just be bored on a daily basis. I spend probably 3 hours walking every single day with nothing. I'm not listening to audiobooks. I'm not.
So what do you do when you get an idea? Do you have a
I have a notebook. I carry around a paper notebook. I don't have it with me in my pocket right now, but a small notebook that I have with a pen in my pocket. And when I walk now, it's because I have a son who's 8 months old who tends to only sleep when he's outside on a walk. And now it's cold in the Northeast. So I'm out like bundled up, out on a walk. He's asleep. And I just walk. And in nature, you have fresh air, ideas, you're thinking about things, and things are connecting. And I'll write them down. And then when I get back, I'll log it into my whole system. But people need to force themselves to be bored more. I've written about this. It's like we've given up on the idea of boredom. We're just scrolling social media. When you're bored, you go sit on the toilet. You're sitting there scrolling social media. We have lost our ability to be bored to our own detriment.
And like you said, when you're bored, you're also letting your mind kind of drift into places, and you can't put a structure to it. I feel part of the problem also is that at some level one is obviously the fact that we constantly addicted to flipping from one thing to the other, like you said. The other thing is that we've tried to build so many systems around everything, is that even boredom is something we think, okay, I'm going to have some time of disconnection, rather than saying I want to have some time getting bored. And I feel just what you term it, how you structure it, makes such a big difference, because disconnection feels like you're constraining yourself. It feels like, no, you're sitting in this room alone by yourself. I remember I did that when I was writing my book, and I was like, I think the first few times I was like, okay, getting jittery, because it just felt like I was confining myself in a room. Do you think that plays into how it comes across into your mind, and that rigidity of a structure?
Yes, and I think I contribute to this being a problem, because everything I share, I try to put it in a package that it makes sense to people. And so there's a system, or there's a framework, or there's an idea. And even when I share, I talk about tech-free walks, technology-free walks as what I do. So now it has a name. Now it's a thing that you have to do. Now it becomes, to use the Greek phrase, there's atelic activities and telic activities. Telic, coming from the Greek root telos, means on purpose. You're doing something with a purpose. Atelic is an activity with no purpose. You're just walking. This should be an atelic activity. You're just walking, and if something comes to you, it comes to you. If not, okay. But because I've put a name to it, now people are like, okay, I'm going to go for my tech-free walk. And that's a problem, because now you've turned it into a purposeful activity that maybe detracts from what it is intended to be. I've experienced this with meditation my whole life. I've wanted to be someone that meditates. I want that to be part of my identity. But because I put so much pressure on myself, I create a structure to it. And I need a headband that measures my brain activity, or I need an app that's going to tell me how to do it. And I need to be perfect, never thinking about anything other than my breath. And that has constrained me from ever being able to meditate regularly, because I put so much pressure on myself. So part of this is also the act of allowing yourself to just be. And that's very, very difficult in the modern world. And I struggle with it constantly. So it's not like I've figured this out, let me tell you how to do it. It's a constant struggle.
I've struggled with meditation as well. I think the only meditation I get myself to do is sleep meditation. When you listen to something, but that's more because you tend to pass out with the music and stuff like that. But I know that physical activity is something that is a strong focus of yours. Working out is like meditation. I feel it's the visual we have in our head. Like meditation is like you're sitting and doing that, but working out is like meditation. Going for a walk, like you said, is meditation. Do you break that down that way? Do you have periods which have supplemented almost meditation for you in your day?
I should. I haven't. I mean, I find writing to be meditative when I'm really in a flow state. And every morning I spend the first 2 hours of my morning. I wake up very early, and I try to have a few hours quiet before my son wakes up, before my wife wakes up, where I do focused work. And that's normally writing. And that I find very meditative, because you're just in your own mind. So I think expanding the definition of what we consider to be meditation is a good way of getting around it. Also, we just need to stop putting pressure on ourselves. Especially ambitious people, it's the biggest issue is when you go to work out and you're trying to get in shape if you're overweight. The first thing you say is, okay, well, I need to do 60 minutes every single day, every week, over and over again.
That whole 10,000 steps.
Yeah, you go straight to that. And you won't do it. I did that with journaling for many years. I said, okay, well, I need 30 minutes for journaling every night. Here are the prompts that I'm going to do. And I never did it because it was too intimidating. It was too much. In Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 2-minute rule, I think, where it's just, you need to break it down to the simplest possible thing in order to just get yourself to start building momentum. The other piece of that is we all need to do a better job being proud of ourselves for those tiny little wins that we stack up, and not worrying about them being tiny relative to what other people are doing. We all need to be able to just take a step back and expand the definition of what a win is in our lives, and feel proud of ourselves more regularly for doing that. There's this tendency to feel like I can't be proud of myself until I achieve the big thing. I want to lose 15 kgs, so I'm not going to be proud of myself until I lose the 15 kgs. Well, that's wrong. You can be proud of yourself for going on the 15-minute walk the first day when you start on towards that goal. And if you do that, you look yourself in the mirror and say, you did that, I'm proud of you. Then the next day, you're more likely to do it because you've given yourself a little bit of dopamine, a little pat on the back for that challenge that you just took on. And that's a powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah, because we tend to look for, I feel we search for appreciation from everybody else around us, but the one piece of appreciation we don't get is from ourselves, because we're not turning around. Cause we are overtly critical of every single thing that we do, that every single result that we get. And that kind of pushes us down that slope of saying, oh, I need to do more, but I can't do it. So I need to do more. Let me find more ways to do it. And you'll obsess over it, and you'll end up not having those moments of just letting your mind be. For more insights like this, make sure you check out the full episode.